Today I'm going to be learning more about Sweden by learning about the Swedish language and in particular 10 untranslatable Swedish words. So yeah, interested to see this. I know that every language has words that can't be translated and interested to see what they are in Swedish. Tell me how often you use these words. Tell me if there's any other interesting Swedish words that you think I should know about or anything else about the Swedish language that you think is interesting. Let's watch.
Hi guys, I hope you're having a splendid day out there. And welcome. Today we're going to go through 10 untranslatable Swedish words.
Vad fan sitter du och säger?
And by untranslatable, I mean a Swedish word that cannot be translated into English. Of course, there are different variants of translations into other languages, but we're talking about specifically English today. Shall we go through the list? Yes. So the first word is Vaba. Vaba is a verb meaning to take paid time off work to take care of your sick child.
That is interesting. I can't think of anything else that we have that would be like that. We have like personal time or something, but that's more like an official term for your office. Vaba. It's cool that you've actually got to work. Is that a common thing you need to do? Paid time off work to take care of your sick child.
Notice paid time off. Vaba comes from the abbreviation VAB, which stands for vård av barn, or care of child, and has later become a verb. I'm gonna go home and vabba today. I won't come into work, but I'm gonna still get money for it. The next word is Vaska. This is a little bit of a strange word. Vaska means that you pour an expensive liquid down the sink, hence the name Vaska. Sink in Swedish is vask. And to vaska.
So it says there the reason for it, but is to display your wealth. Is that something that is commonly done in Sweden? I know that in Sweden it's very wrong to boast. I know that there's a certain term or certain way in society that Swedish people just don't like people who boast. So this seems like pretty much like the opposite of that. That's like the thing you would do to really boast and show off. Vaska. Do you know anybody that's done that? Do you know if that really happens or does it happen anywhere else?
And to vaska is, for example, to pour a bottle of champagne into the sink to display your wealth. It's a little bit weird. I don't know how often it happens nowadays. It was a bit popular a while back for people to do that, but I really hope that this is not a thing anymore. Next word is a word I'm sure you're familiar with, and that is Fika. Fika is a very Swedish word.
That's one of my favourite things I've learned about Sweden, and I've actually incorporated that. I don't have the exact same cakes and sweets that you have in Sweden, but every afternoon I have a coffee, I have some sort of cake or something sweet. It's actually the best thing to do in the middle of the afternoon just to get you get you going for the rest of your work day. It's a great thing. I think every country should implement this.
Fika is when you have a cup of coffee and a cinnamon bun, or just take a time off to just talk with somebody. It's very difficult to translate, as you can hear. It can mean several things. It can mean having a date with somebody. It could mean just having time off work. But in most of these cases, there's gonna be coffee involved, or tea, or maybe a bun or something. Which is why we all love Fika so much. The next word is also a word I think you've heard of. Lagom. Lagom is a word that means not too much and not too little. It's just perfect in the middle. Lagom. And I think lagom is a word that pretty much symbolizes Sweden. We don't want to stand out. We just want to be just perfect and don't make too much noise and not too little noise. It's just lagom. It's a good word to know. The next word is Löpsedel.
Löpsedel.
And this is a little bit of a tricky word. Löpsedel means the front page of a newspaper that hangs outside of stores, you know, the ones that you can also call billboards. But if you do a Google search on billboards, you will also find those big billboards with the commercials on them. Löpsedel specifically means those front pages of the newspaper. So it's a bit of a tricky word, maybe perhaps not 100% not intranslatable, but it's still a unique word. The next
Yeah, I don't think I know of any name for that in English or that we use in Scotland, for instance. I've never really thought about that actually, which is quite interesting. I don't know if I even see things like that much anymore.
word is
But cool.
Snusa.
Snusa.
I bet you've heard about snus. Snus is a moist tobacco that you put under your lip, your upper lip, and should not be confused with snuff, which is a dry tobacco. Att snusa means to actually put the snus under your lip. It is a very difficult word to translate.
Snusa.
Sometimes when I talk about it in English, I realize that there is no real translation for this word, so you have to use the word snusa. Kind of talk some kind of a Swinglish variant. I don't know. It's difficult. But it's a good word to know that people use it. The next word.
Yeah, how common is snus in Sweden? Like, for instance, do you take it or do you use it? I really don't know much about it. I live in Malaysia now. I don't think much people here do it, but I know that in the UK, especially over the last year or so, very recently, a lot more people are starting to do it, even the younger generation and so on. What's the benefit of it? Is it fun? Is it taste good? I don't know. Is it like smoking, that type of thing? Do you get some sort of buzz from it? I really don't know much about it, but I've seen like even a lot of footballers are doing it these days as well.
Is Panta.
Panta.
Panta is a little bit of a tricky word as well. It basically means to recycle bottles, but you get money back for them. In Sweden, most of the cans and plastic bottles have so-called pant on them, meaning that when you recycle them, you will get a little bit of a money back just to give you something for actually recycling these bottles and not throwing them into the nature. And the act of doing this is called panta.
Panta.
The next word.
Yeah, that one we don't have in the UK because I don't really think that, or I don't believe that there's any system like that in place. I know that in Scotland they've been trying to do it over the last year or two, but it's just not really got anywhere past the planning stage, I don't think. Is that very common? Do you always do that in Sweden?
Word is blåsväder, and this
Oh, I like that one. Blåsväder. So let me hear that again. That actually seems like quite a cool word.
blåsväder, and this
Blåsväder.
is yet another
Blåsväder.
a bit of a tricky word. Blåsväder literally means windy weather, but is mostly used by medias to describe when something is going bad for someone or something. For example, imagine this löpsedel. Nackagubben is in blåsväder. Said a bad word on the internet. Would you have bought that newspaper? The next word is a word that I brought up earlier in one of my Swedish words of the week, and that is orka.
Orka.
Orka means to cope or have the energy to do something, but it's not those words entirely. It's something different. For example, you could say, "Do you orka play games with me?" No, I don't orka. The word could also be used by itself, like orka, meaning that you really don't orka.
Orka.
And the final word of today is harkla, which is a verb,
Harkla.
meaning to clear
Harkla.
your throat before, for example, having a speech, like that is to harkla. And of course, there's the translation to clear one's throat, but we actually have one word
word?
that describes this action, which is pretty interesting, actually.
Vad fan sitter du och säger?
Alright, guys, those were 10 untranslatable Swedish.
Yeah, really cool, yeah, definitely. We don't have those words, or we don't have terms, like that newspaper thing. I've never really even thought. I've seen them a lot growing up and things, but I've never thought, what is that thing called? A newspaper board or something like that. But it's cool to see that Sweden has all these unique words. I do love learning about these things, about different languages, and seeing these words that don't have a direct translation. Living in Malaysia, I've learned Malay, and there's a lot of words like that that can't be directly translated into English. So I like to see it from different countries as well. Tell me what you think about them. How often do you use these? Is there any other words that you know of that are untranslatable into English from Swedish? Yeah, thanks.